Hi, this is Paul Roberts of Conscious Counseling 101. This is Chapter 1 of The Awakening of Consciousness. Each new day, as one takes the time to examine one's journey through their life, presents new opportunities as one may come to find that they can truly take charge of the process of their conscious development. One may contemplate at first whether or not any or all of the areas that they may have touched on in their life could have or should have served to define them. Logically, it would seem that many times one may come to attribute the full definition of themselves as a byproduct of all the things that they have learned and done and added onto the genetic aspects that also serve to comprise who they are. If one adds in a touch of circumstance and a dash of fortune or a smudge of hard times and such, they may soon come to believe that their total conscious being is nothing more than what is comprised by the exposure to the many known and unknown numerous extraneous factors in one's life, such as these. One may feel that these factors may be somewhat positively self-guided, further by education, as well as society or their global location, climate, or any other number of factors which may cause variations in the total person that they are capable of being. One who is truly a hardcore philosopher / scientist or mathematician type may go further still and argue that all their actions and reactions relate purely to the Big Bang and are back traceable, and any inkling we may have that we are able to have any designs in the matter is a byproduct of our own lack of perspective abilities, crippled by our hopelessly limited perceptions. We are bound in this physical realm by our human limitations. If we choose to believe that, we would not even get out of bed in the morning. Instead of any or all these factors, and more comprising the seemingly infinite descriptive process that we may apply to ourselves, we feel that the most powerful factor working for anyone is also the one that seems to be working against everyone. Depending on our perspective, what one earth-shaking factor is most prevalently obvious, but also unspoken with our limited perceptive abilities, bound by this physical realm? Quite simply, it would be this. It would seem that no one can know anything for certain. The universe is full of limitless possibilities for each and every one of us, none of which can be fully dismissed away by theory, but only perhaps not adhered to because of lack of belief or ability to perceive. Because we may appear to lose already from step one by taking a defeatist approach, we choose instead to take the approach that at worst our conscious indeed can perhaps possess the capability to define, access, and be influenced to gravitate toward with a concerted effort to latch us onto all things that are truly beneficial in this universe, and at best actually take hold and actually control and form them. If both positives and negatives are unknown and unprovable, we assert that logic would dictate that only a fool would elect to place their faith and energies in the negative, or realm of belief that there is no choice or way to alter our outcomes, and our realm itself, perhaps. It remains that we must logically think positive, or not bother to think. The choice that ultimately defines the meaning of our life is clear and concise. The conscious should be composed of all the positive, therefore, or it would not survive a stand of a chance of survival, nor would it be worth surviving if it indeed could. This book is offered to the general populace with unbridled enthusiasm by us because we feel that more can be offered to our fellow human beings. We feel that all the world's problems are solvable through conscious development and nurturing aspects that could come natural towards one another once we realize fully on a heightened conscious level that what happens to one of us can happen to all of us. We believe that an individual who manages to gain a heightened conscious can go beyond all the factors that are naturally associated with who a person ever thought they were. Yes, quite beyond indeed. We believe it is truly what is being missed by the largest percentage of the people who have ever lived. Whether or not the other factors were working for them or against them, we believe it possible for one to rise to the fullest, highest level of their conscious existence, and that would then be used to label them, if one could even place a label on such an infinite nature. We are not talking about measures of levels of success that can be tabulated and related to by others living in our world in a somewhat ununified way. We are instead talking about something that an individual can possess and manipulate, which will bolster and guide their very steps and overflow to help guide the face of mankind. We hold this up to be the highest point an individual can achieve and the very meaning and purpose of life itself. If you are religious minded, please understand that our broad definition of all this is infinite in scope and will most certainly include your views, as will our scope include the views of those individuals who lean toward other explanations of our existence and purpose or lack thereof. The infinite holds all. This book makes no attempt to condense and encapsulate, because it states up front that we believe nothing can be known by anyone for certain. What we are left with is analysis that is born through heightened consciousness, which allows for the possibility of all things. A surprising observation about one's conscious will come from the first day that one begins to become aware of it and work on it. One will quickly come to see that it is fully theirs, and no one, but no one, has the power to tamper with it in any way, unless we yield it to them. The conscious is our most precious gift, and it is also marvelous that few even begin to realize the potential of it. Scientists believe that a person uses only 10% of their brains. What are we missing? Life should be totally about that discovery process, which applies to the full development of not only the 10%, but beyond. The majority of others in the world may never be able to tell that they have it or obtain it for themselves. That would all be irrelevant to the individual with the heightened conscious. That individual may wish more for others, but their state of being does not have to be influenced by them. This fact can show one the major impacts and the significance of making the focus of their lives all about this factor, as it will aid them in all other factors through understanding and perspectives, and also with perceptive ability and sound reasoning that will aid them in every other aspect of their lives that they choose to focus on and deem important. The possession of a higher conscious is not often accompanied by signs of prosperity or particular lifestyles or even classes of people and such other stereotypes as these. The one thing that they have in common with each other is that they find themselves alone. They can even appear to some as one with a mental disorder. They may find that others may be incapable of recognizing them for what they are. Furthermore, some may even chastise them for some of the outer signs that may be evident to them. Or if the individual with the heightened conscious prematurely takes it upon themselves to outwardly share that which they possess with others who are not ready to receive and understand. Another trait that those with a heightened conscious have in common is that they would like to help or even save the world, but find it difficult because they realize that this objective may remain in the hands of all, and the general populace seems incapable of recognizing and implementing in a uniform way what it needs to do to achieve this end. When one with a heightened conscious acts, oftentimes large effects can be realized, but more often they do not take place as they would like to see them or as they were designed, and the results do not measure up to our expectations, because the fate of the world appears to be in the hands of all mankind. Many times a person with a heightened conscience may become aware of how little they actually come to perceive that they can do based on these limitations, which are often accompanied by other factors, such as the ability to understand that one can know nothing for certain, and their forcing any points of view or manipulations on others would be less than the best that one could do. So they often withdraw and bide their time, which they spend in further preparation, and may appear to many to do less than they should or nothing at all. Much of their time seems spent in contemplation and preparation for an opportunity to offer aid, but they realize that such an opportunity may never come. Even though this may not be able to be known, the person with the heightened conscience does not give up. They alone realize who they are and why they are as they are, and would not trade or give up what they have gained, because the results are thankfully provable to themselves, at least. Even though they would not give up, it is still a burden to bear. A heightened conscience is the opposite of ignorance, and a heightened conscience is definitely not blissful, as it is said of ignorance. In our personal cases, we believe something was unique that led to all of this being what our lives were about. Our unconscious focus through our lives' long analytical art training, combined with philosophy as it relates to religion in a unique way, and much thought as well as physical energy exerted on our parts, actually helped shape and define our conscious mentality all the while, without our initial realization at first. This cloak protected us, allowed for our growth, and eventually empowered us to see that the curtain or mask concealing our identity was perhaps not necessary any longer, as we had indeed gained a type of true anonymity that others did not recognize what we were becoming aware of. We carry it with us totally protected. No mask is needed any longer. At one time, it was even protected and unknown to ourselves. It was sort of like in those martial arts movies when you see the depiction of the early life of a struggling, lost, but honorably searching soul being portrayed, who one day, as tragedy looms imminent, and it seems as if there's no hope, suddenly exclaims, "Wow, I know Kung Fu!" He then saves the day with his special abilities. But can this happen in real life? This is the proverbial question of the ages. One day we exclaimed just that exclamation, and now ask ourselves the same question. We realized that we had something special that had developed in us and desired to help others to move toward the same. The rest is part of the faith that the end result may be possible, and living for that possibility, even if unforeseeable and unknowable. What greater concept can one live for? We have come to realize an extremely heightened and uniquely perceptive conscience between us. We developed it all through our lives with our artistic creativity and the analytic manipulations that materialized into extraordinary, unique perspectives for us through a unique type of introspection, combined with much considered analysis of outside factors at the same time. It developed naturally for us and occurred in a similar manner to how a master artist would manipulate depictions of images and ideas with his brushwork, ever working and reworking on a canvas. We had come to see that we had real abilities and powers that we could offer others through our unique life experience and what it was doing for us personally. We had initially unknowingly become so all about our unconscious development, our conscious journey, and our heightened perceptions all through our lives that it began to overtake us by surprise. We are readily realizing that we had abilities far beyond any we had ever dreamed of, and were vastly more effective, perhaps able to save and help those that were trapped by delusions and false notions of limitations. We then further realized that the power to save the world was in the hands of each and every one of us, but also all of us. But we feared that we could never utilize it effectively because our one main weakness, that weakness, as strange as it sounds, was nothing that came from within, but what we became aware of was the weakness of consciousness of the vast majority of those in the world, and how it was significantly corrupted and weak, as well as fragmented and difficult to gain touch with due to social, economic, and other issues, and how our current world state could lead to our doom by us in addition to our physical doom that seems imminent anyway. The weakness could be found inside each and every person who ever lived. It comes from our own failure to realize and admit to ourselves that we know nothing and are powerless to change that or help ourselves. But through this, we can become empowered by our conscious mentality as it is heightened to all it can be, and place our faith in what is most naturally obvious, certain, but hidden at the same time. Regardless of belief, it should seem natural that this would be what the Creator would want from the created if a Creator existed, for each individual to be fullness of what they were created for. Our control and our development of conscious is the necessary ingredient in making that able to happen. The essence of everything that everyone in the entire world projects, both now and throughout all time, has been exactly what we were about. The enemy of the quest for heightened consciousness is that instead of relying on the actual real powers, we are led by others to doubt the realness of those powers because they appear to lie in the non-physical or at least non-provable realm. When we doubt and start to believe that the powers are really false or non-existent powers, we falter until we heighten our conscious even further and prove to ourselves that the powers are real and do lie in truth and conscious realization. Sometimes we feel that we must project great, powerful illusions that were designed to convince ourselves and others that we were powerful and had no control of things. That is the shared delusion of this dark and unperceptive world that we are all trapped by, and it in turn makes up and becomes our world. Our true ability of conscious is clouded by it and kept from being all that it was meant to be. Even if we heighten our conscious and our faith, neither seem to be able to be heightened enough for the reasons of lack of provability and lack of knowing anything for certain. Because of our limited perceptive abilities as humans and less than full perspectives that they generate for us. Still, the heightened conscious would seem to be our best chance to make the most important choice we seem to be given to make during our conscious existence in this physical realm. It is the one that embodies the very answer to the question, the proverbial eternal question. What is the meaning of life? One should ask themselves and require an answer, which this book will help with. Should I keep believing the illusion that one could know what they believe for certain? Or can I become strong enough to drop it and still stand? One must overcome or forever surrender and let that same delusion that almost all mankind falls victim to at one point or another guide one's eternal path, that one can know, and what is seen and is provable will continue to determine all that is. We believe that one can discover the real world and the real answers if they are brave and daring enough to embark on a journey and make the choice that conscious heightening is what they choose to embrace, which will comprise their life from that point forth. The answers may not be what one would like to find, and so many do not wish to see or consciously acknowledge and live with them, as it is very difficult and takes a special strength, seemingly almost like that of a superhero. One may come to see that no one has control. No one knows anything for certain. One may need to accept and deal with the concept that we are all completely vulnerable and in danger at all times and can never know our fate, and that nothing may be able to ever be done about it. One must ask themselves if they are strong enough to accept that they may possibly never be able to overcome their plight. One must come to grips with how fragile they truly may be, but in spite of impossible odds, and in spite of the overwhelming numbers of people choosing the lesser way, one may still have a chance to be more. One can come to see that they do not have to live only for the limited nature of the things they see. Easily perceivable things are the things that even the dimmest of the conscious is aware of. they're not enough to build a successful life on for a heightened consciousness. One must not continue to be blinded by the delusion that what they see must be all that is real. This concept represents only a very limited illusion that allows people to be distracted while their vulnerability and complete utter desperation to falsely feel empowerment over their helplessness. It is because of this false perception that the delusions of mankind are perpetuated and are so welcomed by almost all. The flesh only does what it can to serve the flesh, because that is the most painfully aware thing we possess for the most certain. The choice we have to make is to realize and see that entire limited and false facade for what it is, and continue to perpetuate it, or to finally make the conscious decision to step away from the curtain we hide behind like the wizard in The Wizard of Oz. And the limited controls we feel are our only way to operate strongly enough to influence others. Choice and faith are so crucial to doing this. We feel we can help those that read this book to gain insights and tools necessary to break through as we have. It is all about conscious perception. Nothing will change but the way one sees and perceives, and that will change everything for a person at the very least. One can see things the way they really are and empower themselves to accept and deal with them. We invite you to come with us and continue with us on a journey, much of which we have already taken ourselves, one that we have been on all our lives, through choices we made long ago, but are constantly still realizing the significance of. We feel we can help those who are also open and desire to heighten their own conscious, to gain from the things we have gained from, and come to understand and guide their own voices, and guide their own choices, what they mean, where they can take one, and how they can alter one's course. We feel we can help others become confidently capable to qualify themselves to make the highest choices available to them, and together through all the lives and consciousness that we touch, perhaps we can all contribute to saving the world. Few understand the difficult concepts that we offer without a desire to concentrate and learn on their own. And even I did not begin to fully understand until we were tested and came into full conscious awareness that I knew nothing, but had only believed. We have not changed what we believe, and do not wish for one to feel that one has to either, but only to realize why and how we believe it. That is one of the hardest things for a person to do. We feel it requires a true superpower. If one allows themselves to do it, they will gain that power as well. Where one then goes from there will be up to the individual and their motivation and capabilities. But the mere fact that the realizations of the importance of the development of a heightened conscious has come to them may in itself guide all who choose to focus on this direction. That's chapter 1. This is Paul Roberts of Conscious Counseling 101. Much more to come. This can change lives in the world. Tell others about it. Write in and talk with me. Inspire me to talk about other things as we go along with these chapters. This is Paul Roberts of Conscious Counseling 101.